Responding with some tough talk of its own, saying, quote, the arrival of a certain warship is not going to shake Iran's will or determination to defend the country with full force. The regime then hoisted a mural in Tehran showing a damaged U.S. aircraft carrier with disabled fighter jets on its deck. The messages did not dissuade Trump, who said he actually hasn't yet decided whether to launch a strike. Trump added he now thinks the country wants to, quote, cut a deal. For perspective on all of this, I'm joined now by Tara Kangarlou. She grew up in Iran and has been in touch with people there and about the regime's crackdown and those protests. She's also the author of Heartbeat of Iran. Tara, great to have you back on the show. So the internet blackout is what, in its 20th day now? Are you still able to communicate with your friends, family members who are inside Iran?
Thank you for covering the story, Elizabeth. Yes, the internet blackout continues, and more so, we have to pay attention to how there is a huge surveillance, by the way, on the lines, both internal connections, but also foreign. So those who are able to get through, they are quite worried that the lines are surveilled. I've been in touch. The internet is still shut, but people are trying to get on with various VPNs, and the mood is quite dismal. The whole country remains in mourning. And one thing that really stayed with me this past few days, speaking with people who are, again, slowly connecting for just a few minutes, some of them just a few minutes throughout the day, they've been saying, we wish we didn't connect. We wish we were not able to get online because what we're seeing is harrowing. We lived it, we experienced it, but what we're seeing through these videos are just beyond imaginable. And many of them have told me that we are living in a state of limbo. They are waiting for Donald Trump's next move. They are completely, more than ever before, disillusioned in their government, in the regime. You mentioned the numbers. When you speak with people on the ground, physicians especially have been telling me that these numbers are much higher than the official reports. Right. So these people are living in limbo, waiting to see what happens next.
President Trump had said that the killing had stopped. Is that what you're hearing when you speak to people inside Iran?
I don't think anything that we are hearing from Iranian officials we should take as fact. That's number one. When it comes to the killing in Iran having stopped, that cannot be considered true because we are seeing detentions continuing to take place. We are seeing people dying in detention. And also, we don't have a clear number of those who have died. And I think the big question is, why is the government of Iran not allowing family members and loved ones getting access to the bodies of their loved ones and those who have died? So this is an extremely opaque circumstance that the blackout is not helping. But the idea that the president of the United States says, all right, 800 people who were going to be hung are no longer, and therefore, I'm not going to go through with my promise to help the Iranian people, I think that also contributes to the repression that the Iranian people are facing right now, because they went on the streets, Elizabeth, with empty hands, and they were killed in the thousands.
You sent us a photo, actually, that was really distressing. A 7-year-old girl lying on the coffin of her mother who was killed. It's a heartbreaking story.
Yes, and this is the little girl, her name is Aysan, and she's a second grader in the small town of Noorabad Mamasani. And this is one of the cities that was one of the first epicenters of the protests. It's just a few miles from Shiraz, a main city in the Fars province in Iran. And I've been speaking with her family, and her mother, Parisa Lashkari, a 30-year-old makeup artist, was killed on January 10th. She's the only child of this family, and now she's left with her father. And Elizabeth, this is a little girl who has the same hopes and dreams as many other little girls in the United States and around the world. And she's now left grieving over the grave of her mother, who was brutally shot by the IRGC. And I want to mention a drawing that she drew, and I saw a photo of it, where she said, Mama Parisa, where are you? And this question of where are you is a question that's asked by thousands of Iranians right now who really are feeling abandoned by the world.
Do the Iranians you speak to, do they want President Trump to take action? President Trump had warned the mullahs in Iran, if you don't stop killing your people, I'm going to come in and take action. He urged Iranian protesters to keep protesting.
Yes.
Do the Iranian people feel that President Trump is letting them down, or are they hoping and praying that maybe with this new arrival of all this military force in the region that he will keep his word?
A few things are true when you speak with Iranians in Iran, and I've been reporting on Iran for 15 years and lived in the country. I will tell you that no one wants foreign aggression and no one wants to see their country bombed. But Iranian people are feeling completely helpless. They've been on the streets with nothing except their lives and will, and they've been killed, right? And they are in this state of limbo. So they are very, very well aware that they're not going to see any change from the regime as it stands.
So
and they
what
very
do they
much
want
are
President
asking
Trump to do?
To take action. They want the international community to take action. They no longer want to see this regime in place. And many of them, again, speaking with people on the ground, are asking for some form of intervention, for some form of strike, with the understanding that that might also lead to chaos. And quite frankly, when I say limbo, this is the word on the ground. We're stuck, but we have to see something come out of the White House, come out of Washington. We have to see something happen.
It is a very delicate and difficult decision for President Trump to make. He's got close allies in the Middle East warning him not to take action. He's hearing the pleas from people like you and Iranians inside the country to please help them. We shall see in the coming days what President Trump decides to do. Tara, it is always great to hear your perspective. I really appreciate you coming back and filling us in on what's happening there. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.